As many of you know, we have always been all about vegetables here at Stony Acres Gardening. For many, many years, I thought flowers did not have a place in our garden, and so I would just pretty much ignore them. But about 8 years ago, we really started studying and learning more about the benefits of having some flowers actually planted in your vegetable garden, and have started to integrate them in. And at the beginning of this year, I did a video that I talked about the plants that we were going to be putting in. If you want to watch that video, there's a link right up here that you can click on to watch that. But I went through and talked about all the different flowers that we were going to be planting in our garden this year. Now that it's fall, it's mid-September, things are kind of winding down, I thought that maybe I would do a follow-up video and let you guys see how the flowers did and kind of give you some input on what I thought they helped with in the garden. So let's kind of go through and talk about 10 of the flowers that we planted in our garden this year that were there for beneficial reasons and how they turned out. So first off on the list is calendula. So this is calendula, this yellow flower right here at the front. We'll do a cutaway of another pretty plant that we have. Calendula is a nice pollinator attractor, has a really attractive flower. It ends up that it actually turns out to be a pretty good cut flower as well. We've cut them and had them in the house all season, and that has been really nice as well. And calendula are also good for cabbage moths. They keep cabbage moths away, and also their roots will help to kind of keep nematodes at bay. And we've been really happy with calendula. It reseeds itself, and so you don't have to plant it every year. It will come up on its own, and not a super readily reseeding, so it's not like it's spread all over the garden. It kind of just reseeded in its own area, and has been nice to have. So calendula, definitely one that we're going to continue to grow. Really nice plant for the garden. And then right along with that is the zinnia that we have planted. Now zinnia are a really nice cut flower. This is kind of a mini one, I'll be honest with you. We've grown zinnia for several years, probably a dozen years in our flower beds, but we've been putting them in the garden here for a few years too. This is a new variety that I tried this year, and it's kind of a mini flower. And I think I'm probably going to go back to the larger headed flowers, a little bit prettier. But this did act as a really nice pollinator attractor. That's what we plant zinnias for, is to bring those pollinators in. Really nice cut flower as well, pretty in the garden, but I think next year we'll go away from the mini and go back to the ones that have a traditionally larger flower head. But beyond that, we really enjoyed the zinnias, and like I say, zinnias have been in our garden for about 5 years now, and in our yard for more than a dozen years. Grows really well from seed or from transplant, and so another great one that you can have in your garden. Next on the list is borage. So borage is one that we planted for a very specific reason, and that reason is that it repels tomato hornworms, or the moth that actually lays the eggs that turn into the tomato hornworm. And we planted these very specifically right here among our tomatoes. So we actually planted 6. This one's right here. It's kind of a little bit disadvantaged. Normally they get a little bit bigger than this, but we're on the north side of the tomato bed, and so this one didn't get really big. I'll do a close-up so you can see the flower. Has a nice little flower. It's not terribly showy. Borage is edible, and it has some medicinal properties to it as well. But the whole reason why we planted it was for those tomato hornworms. And I have to say, it seems to have worked. So this is the first year in a long time that we haven't at least had one outbreak of tomato hornworms. This year, no tomato hornworms. We didn't lose any leaves. As far as I can tell, we never saw a tomato hornworm this year. And we ended up with 6 plants along here in our tomato bed, and it seemed to really do its job. So borage, a great one. Nice little flower, not terribly showy, but really beneficial for those hornworms. One of the more classic flowers that you can plant in the vegetable garden is marigolds. We chose this fun variety that we got from True Leaf Market this year, and we have used marigolds actually for quite a few years. So they're the first flower that we actually started planting in our garden as, you know, as a pollinator attractor, because it does really well to attract pollinators. The other thing that it does is it repels a lot of our undesirable bugs. So they're a very strong scented flower, especially for other insects. And so that seems to draw in the pollinators, but it also keeps a lot of other things out. The root system can help with nematodes as well. So we have had these integrated. They're a really beautiful flower in the garden. We kind of just plant them here and there. They will reseed, and so you do need to be a little bit careful with that because they sometimes can get a little bit crazy. But we, will usually have at least a dozen of these kind of scattered in and amongst our vegetable garden, and just love them. So marigolds are a great one to have in your garden for, a lot of beneficial reasons. So this one here is bachelor buttons, and these come in 2 or 3 different colors. You've got the darker purple, a white, and a light purple that we have seen in the mixes that we've grown. Bachelor buttons have kind of been on and off for us over the years. The last couple of years we planted them really well. They are planted specifically for pollinators. So they don't really have any like repelling properties or other things like that to them. They are just specifically here to bring in the pollinators. We've got them here by our cucumbers and our zucchini to help bring in those bees and other pollinators, and they seem to work great for that. We love them, kind of just a little small flower, but a nice little showy, pretty color. And so another great one for you to be planting in your garden. The next one on the list is called Black-Eyed Susans. So we actually grew Black-Eyed Susans at our last place, so 15 plus years ago, but they were strictly a flower bed flower for us at that time. We've added them into the garden. They are here specifically for 2 reasons. Number one is pollinators. They're that nice showy flower that brings in pollinators. They're easy for the bees to get into and pollinate. The other reason why they're here is because they last so long. So these flowers, I haven't even deadheaded this plant yet this whole season. They just last and last and last. We're just starting to see a few that are fading now. So they're a really long-lasting flower. Also really a nice cut flower. So if you want to do a cut flower, we've brought them in and put them in arrangements in our house. So nice there, but great for bringing in the pollinators and just last forever. This one may have become our new favorite. So this is the first year that we have grown asters. This plant's looking a little ragged. It's getting late in the season, but we have really loved these flowers this year. So we planted just a mix that we got from Shoe Leaf Market, and so we had several different colors. We had some pinks, we had some really dark purples, we had this pale purple that actually starts out as a white and then turns to this paler purple. A really, really nice flower, really good for pollinators. We constantly see pollinators on these guys. It's a really nice cut flower. We've brought a lot of them in this season and used them as flowers in the house as well. Fairly long-lasting flower, and if you keep after them and keep them deadheaded, they'll last all the way into the fall, right up until frost. So this is a nice one, new favorite for us. I really, really like this aster. It looks really nice in the garden, and it just seems to have been really, really good for bringing in those pollinators. This one is called amaranth. So amaranth is actually a grain. You can eat pretty much most of the plant. So the seeds, once the flowers have produced their seeds, then you can eat the seeds as a grain. The leaves are also edible, so it's fun that way as well. But it's super good for pollinators. It has really drawn in the pollinators. These little tiny flowers like this are really nice for those pollinators, and they seem to enjoy those. And so we've had a lot of success bringing in more pollinators with these. I will warn you, they reseed very readily. Now they're fairly easy to control. When they're little, you can just, cultivate them out if you've got too many or something like that. But boy, look at this seed head is just loaded with seeds, and they do spread. So the birds spread them around. We planted them for the first time last year, and we put them in 2 locations, and now they're all over the yard. Now we have let that happen. They weren't that hard to control. We were able to put them in areas where we wanted them and kind of just let those go, but they are readily reseedable. So they're going to spread in your garden if you're not careful. So I will warn you with that, but a beautiful dark purple leaf, really nice flower head. And again, you can eat the seeds as well. I've watched some videos on how to process amaranth, and the process of actually getting the seeds off and winnowed and everything is relatively complicated, but it is something that you could do if you wanted to. So that's been a fun one that we've had growing in our garden for a couple of years now and really have enjoyed it. One of our all-time favorite flowers for the garden has been 4 o'clocks. So we really, really love these 4 o'clocks. We've grown them for years and years, like 20 years or so. We've been growing the 4 o'clocks. We originally started with some seeds that were given to us by my wife's grandfather. We ended up losing those plants when we moved, and so we bought some seeds and have self-selected to a color that we like. They come in a ton of different colors. We really love this kind of dark red. It's just a pretty one. 4 o'clocks are a very showy flower. They're a little bit unique in the times that they bloom. They open in the morning and they open in the evening. During the daytime, those flowers are closed. So they're a little bit kind of unique that way, and that makes them a little bit fun as well. They're really good for pollinators, especially pollinators that like the trumpet type flowers. So we do see hummingbirds enjoying these flowers, and then some of the moths and things like that will enjoy those as well. A lot of the hovering pollinators really like these. So 4 o'clock's a great one. They readily reseed themselves. We haven't bought seeds for 10 plus years with these, and they're pretty easy to self-select too. We ended up liking this color best, chose to just plant seeds for those, and away you go. So 4 o'cloc's awesome. Another flower that we added back this year was cosmos. So we've grown cosmos in the past, decided to put them back again this year. Didn't have a lot of success in the actual garden with those. You can see they're a fairly hardy flower. They get pretty big, and the area that I put them in, they started to kind of invade even before they were flowering, and I ended up pulling them out. And so we do have some up here in the front as well. This bed is a flower bed that we actually use for production. We have peppers and corn and other things in here. But this has been a nice flower. Again, cosmos are pretty much a pollinator attractor. They have a nice showy flower that lasts throughout the season. We'll see these guys last right up until frost and maybe even a little bit after that. So cosmos are really nice. They do fairly readily spread, so you do need to be careful with that. And they are, this clump that you can see here, and I'll do a cutaway so you can see a little bit more of it, is actually only about 3 plants. And so they can get fairly good sized. So be careful with that. But we've enjoyed having the cosmos again. Like I said, we planted these years ago and have brought them back this year, and they've been nice. And I think we'll continue to have some, at least in the borders of the garden. So as you can see, we've kind of scattered a nice selection of flowers through our garden, and I feel like that it has really been beneficial. Maybe 3 things that I could say this year with the added increase of more flowers in our garden would be, number 1, the cabbage moth issues that we've had in the past have really gone down. Now, I'm not saying that they went away. We did still have a little bit of cabbage moth damage this year, but way smaller than we have seen in the past. The next would be the tomato hornworm. The borage seems to have just completely taken care of our tomato hornworm problem. So I'm interested to see in years going forward if that continues to be the case. And then the biggest benefit I think that we have seen this year from having added flowers in the vegetable garden is the pollinators. We have seen so many more pollinators this year in a time where people are complaining that there's not enough bees in their area. We have just seen tons of traditional honeybees, bumblebees, hoverflies, and a bunch of really unique bees that I have never seen in my garden before. We had a really pretty black bee that, there were 4 or 5 that spent several weeks hanging out in our garden this year. Hoverflies, lots of other small native to our area bees that have been around that I've never seen in my garden before. And so I'm really happy with the pollinator population that has come into our garden because we've added so many flowers. So that is something that I would 100% think you should do, is add more flowers to your vegetable garden, something that we're going to continue to do as well. So if you're looking for a source, we love True Leaf Market. This is not a sponsored video, but we love True Leaf Market. All of the flowers that you saw in our garden, with the exception of the 4 o'clocks, came from True Leaf Market. I've included some links down below to the different seed collections that they have that offer them. The one that we used this year was this big 35 pack collection that they have, and that gives you just a ton for a very inexpensive price. So it's a great place to get them. So link down in the description you can click on to go and check those out as well. But next year, bring some more flowers into your garden, and I think that you're really going to enjoy it, and it's going to give you some good benefits. All right, That, my friends, is all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. While you're here, please make sure that you get subscribed to our channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week. Happy gardening.